Lila was a young mermaid who lived in the coral reef, a hidden kingdom under the sea. She had always been fascinated by the human world, especially the stories of pirates and their adventures. She often sneaked out of the palace to explore the sunken ships and collect the treasures they left behind. One day, she found a map that showed the location of a legendary pirate island, where a great treasure was buried. She decided to follow the map and see if she could find the island. She swam for a long time until she reached the surface of the water. She saw a large ship with a black flag and a skull on it. It was a pirate ship. She was curious and wanted to get a closer look, but she was also afraid of being seen by the pirates. She hid behind a rock and watched as the pirates lowered a rowboat and headed to the shore. She noticed that one of the pirates was different from the others. He had long brown hair and a kind face. He wore a red bandana and a blue coat. He looked like the hero of her favorite pirate story. She felt a strange attraction to him and decided to follow him. She swam behind the rowboat and reached the shore. She saw the pirates digging a hole in the sand. They were looking for the treasure. She wanted to help them, but she didn't know how. She wished she could talk to them, but she didn't speak their language. She wished she could walk on land, but she had a tail instead of legs. She saw the kind pirate looking around, as if he was bored. He seemed to notice something shiny in the water. It was Lila's necklace, a gift from her father, the king of the coral reef. It was made of pearls and coral and had a starfish pendant. He walked towards the water and bent down to pick it up. He saw Lila's face and gasped. Lila was scared and tried to swim away, but he grabbed her hand and pulled her out of the water. He looked at her with wonder and admiration. He said something to her, but she didn't understand. She looked at him with fear and confusion. She tried to free herself, but he held her tight. He called his fellow pirates and showed them his discovery. They were amazed and excited. They said something to him, but he shook his head. He seemed to want to protect her. He carried her to the rowboat and took her to the ship. He put her in a large barrel filled with seawater. He gave her back her necklace and smiled. He said something to her, but she still didn't understand. She felt a mix of gratitude and resentment. She wanted to go back to the sea, but she also wanted to stay with him. She stayed in the barrel for several days. He visited her every day and brought her food and water. He tried to communicate with her, using gestures and drawings. He taught her some words in his language, and she taught him some words in hers. They learned each other's names. He was Jack and she was Lila. They became friends, and soon, more than friends, they fell in love. But their love was not meant to be. The other pirates were not happy with Jack's attachment to Lila. They wanted to sell her to a circus or a museum, or worse, to a witch who would use her for her magic. They plotted against Jack and Lila and waited for the right moment to betray them. One night, when Jack was asleep, they sneaked into his cabin and took Lila out of the barrel. They threw her into a cage and locked it. They laughed and mocked her and told her that they would get rid of her and Jack the next day. They left her alone in the dark, crying and trembling. She didn't know what to do. She prayed to the sea gods to help her. She wished she could see Jack one last time. She wished she could tell him that she loved him. The next morning, Jack woke up and realized that Lila was gone. He ran to the deck and saw the cage. He saw Lila inside, pale and weak. He shouted her name and ran to her. He tried to open the cage, but it was locked. He looked for the key, but he couldn't find it. He looked for a weapon, but he couldn't find one. He was surrounded by his former friends, who pointed their swords and guns at him. They told him that he had to choose Lila or the treasure. If he chose Lila, they would kill him and throw him overboard. If he chose the treasure, they would let him live, but they would take Lila away and sell her to the highest bidder. Jack didn't hesitate. He chose Lila. He told her that he loved her and that he was sorry for bringing her to this. He told her to be brave and to never give up hope. He kissed her goodbye and then turned to face his enemies. He fought with courage and skill, but he was outnumbered and outmatched. He fell to the ground, wounded and bleeding. He looked at Lila, who was crying and screaming. He smiled and closed his eyes. He lost consciousness. Lila was heartbroken. She felt a surge of anger and sadness. She felt a power rising within her. She remembered that she was a mermaid, a daughter of the sea. She remembered that she had a gift that she had never used before. She opened her mouth and sang. She sang a song of sorrow and vengeance, a song that shook the earth and the sky, a song that summoned the wrath of the sea. She sang a song that broke the cage and freed her from her prison. She sang a song that caused a storm to rise and a wave to crash. She sang a song that sank the ship and drowned the pirates. She sang a song that saved her life and his. She stopped singing. She saw the ship sinking and the pirates drowning. She saw Jack lying on the sand, still breathing. She swam to him and lifted him up. She carried him to the rowboat and paddled away. She looked for a safe place to hide. She found a small cave on a nearby island. She dragged him inside and laid him down. She checked his wounds and tried to heal them. She gave him water and food. She stayed by his side and prayed for his recovery. She waited. He woke up and saw her face. He smiled and said her name. He thanked her for saving him and asked her how she did it. She told him about her song and her gift. He was amazed and grateful. He told her that he loved her and that he was sorry for putting her in danger. She told him that she loved him and that she was glad he was alive. They hugged and kissed. They talked. They decided to leave the pirate life behind and start a new one together. They knew it would not be easy, but they were ready to face any challenge. They had each other, and that was enough. They waited for the night to fall, and then they took the rowboat and sailed away. They followed the stars and hoped to find a place where they could be happy and free. They left.